Right. May I get a roll call, please? Here. has everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes of June 7, 2021? If so, are there any motions for amendment or motions for acceptance?
I move to approve the meeting minutes.
All right, motion was made by Alderman Poston, seconded by Alderman Gardner to approve the minutes as presented. All those in favor? All right, scheduled visitors and guests. We have a written report. Were you going to be speaking to that report? Show me Christian County. Ms. Andrea Seitz.
Okay.
You should be able to.
Oh, no, I'm red now.
You're good.
I'm good. Okay.
That's good. Red's good.
Red is good. Green is bad?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, good evening. It is always a pleasure to be here and to update you. May and June both have been really great months for activities all across, not just Christian County, but the region as a whole. And we have seen some of the results of that from RFIs that we've received from the state level. So on the local perspective, we are working with a developer. This has been really evolving over the last several months and trying to negotiate bringing in the activities that they want to do in this very large mixed-use development on the north side of town, and what again would be the best use of that property for their financial gain, and then also the city's as far as amenities that we want to bring in pursuing placemaking goals. So coordinating those efforts with all city staff from city administrator and city attorney. Then from prospects, this is on the south side of Ozark, but we have identified a recreation facility that is going on just south of town, and just wanting to be present for them. Right now there's no direct action, but that will be a good value add for this community as people are looking at Ozark. For the RFIs that we've seen, I actually received 4 RFI leads from Springfield in the last month, and we're able to respond to 2 solidly, and then 1 is still in the works, and we're trying to identify sites. That is very rare. Most of the time you hear me come up here and talk about RFIs that we were not able to submit. And for Project Life, specifically that we received from Springfield, we were able to sites from across the county. One of those and all staff, Mr. McCart, Mr. Smith, property to see if it would be a good candidate, and it was actually ranked the 2nd highest in the region as far as viability for this project based on that need. And this specific company is a biotech manufacturing facility. The jobs count is 550 jobs, 83 million in capital investment with an average wage of $70,990 for 550 jobs. So it's very large. How this process works, just to reiterate that, we submit sites all across the county that meet very base level needs, and then it just continues through that process. So it will be several months before we ever learn who this company is, if ever. And that's handled directly from the Missouri Partnership and then the Springfield Regional Economic Partnership. They have already sent back a request on utilities for that site, so we're kind of through, round 3, if you will. Round 1 being website searches, round 2 being where you actually submit, and then now they're asking for more information. So those are all positive signs. Project Runway 2, we also submitted, and the Ballfield property was a good submission for their requirements as well. And that is a food production facility that's looking for 150,000 square feet that they can put on a greenfield site. So again, we submit those when it meets the requirements, and these just happened to fall in line with the inventory that we have. As far as regionalism and alignment is concerned, we try to be very active with our peers across the state, and my staff and I just returned from the Missouri Economic Development Council's annual conference, and I serve as the conference planning co-chair for that event, and we were able to actually showcase a Christian County business at this year's annual conference with Bob Noble's company Wisdom, that of course is headquartered just north of Ozark in Christian County. So with that, they presented their data to economic development professionals across the state, and it was great to be able to highlight that they are, again, a Christian County business. We always make sure that we stay in the know on brand acceleration and things that are happening in the industry so that we know how to pivot for that, and Mayor Jackson and Mr. Childers will hear all about that at our board meeting on Wednesday, and some future strategic planning processes. Under the section in your report about prepared communities and networking, so as you know, we are very active with SIMCOG as an affiliate member with them, and we are working through their resiliency and recovery program outlines, serving on the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy Group. I know I'm throwing a lot of really big words. There aren't short, unfortunately, but with the resiliency and recovery efforts, they have offered through a grant that they received to bring together meetings for all of our municipal and governmental entities on basically strategic planning and prioritizing ways that we could spend ARPA funds. So we sent that, our staff sent that out to all of the municipalities and are willing to help facilitate those meetings for any consultants or any communities that would want to take advantage. In addition, through SIMCOG with the market study, we always want to keep you apprised of those efforts. The RFI went out in May to various consultants. So April was all about identifying the scope of work on that project, and Mr. Childers and I worked together on that. And then the RFI went out. Again, we are anticipating the consultants to be awarded sometime in the next month, and then hoping the results will be in September, October for us in that lane. From the market study standpoint, again, that's in the lane of distribution and e-commerce. And so we just made a purchase. It was approved by our executive committee today, and we will be taking out a full page ad plus another third in a specific workforce and talent attraction section in the site selection guide based for Missouri. So this is a 2-year shelf life publication. There are over 15,000 copies, hard copies that are printed, and they are distributed in direct mail and then also to site consultants and decision makers in governmental entities and large corporations. And that is our lane. We are already occupying that space, and now is really the time to establish ourselves and be very proactive in saying, much like communities that Tulsa have or Northwest Arkansas, do what you do, but do it with us. And so we will be launching a very strategic marketing initiative referenced as Grow Closer to Home. Other than that, we do have internally some new board members that we will be bringing on. So that slate is anticipated to be accepted at the Wednesday board meeting, and then they will be installed at the July board meeting. Of those that will be added to our board, Mayor Jenny Davis will be stepping off from Sparta, and in her place will be Mayor Clint Ellingsworth from Highlandville. So we always like to bring in different perspectives. Jason England will be joining us from Arvest Bank, and he is the executive vice president of all of their lending for this region. Jared Giddens is business development for Meridian Title Company. Curtis Jared will be serving on our board in the real estate commercial seat, and then Ben Sapp will be on our board as the small business and entrepreneurship. And lastly, we have a seat for healthcare, and that is going to Dr. Jeff Tucker, and Dr. Tucker oversees the Mercy Orthopedic Hospital right on the Christian County line. So it's been really exciting as we've continued to increase our resources. We know that we are a big player in the region because of our workforce, and I think it's really a testament through the Step Up Capital Campaign initiative and the new members of our board that we not only have the attention of the region, but we have their support as well as we try to grow. So outside of that, I will be on vacation. And we are officially moved in. I don't know if I mentioned that last month, but my staff and I, we are residents of Ozark now, and we're all in a loft on the square, and it's a pleasure to be here in this community. So happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. I'll let you do that.
Yes, ma'am. There we go. Pardon me. All right, moving right along to resolutions. Mr. Flores.
I move that we read resolution 1959.
Charlie, that's exactly what I need right now.
Someone online is making noise over there. Motion was made by Alderman Flores, seconded by Alderman Garter. Place resolution 1959 on the reading by title and description. All those in favor?
A resolution electing an Ozark deputy city clerk.
Any questions or comments?
Meeting, so
Yes.
just didn't know.
There were only a couple of absences, but I think everybody understands, right? Good.
All right.
You want it done?
I move that we adopt resolution 1959. Second.
Motion was made by Alderman Flores, seconded by Alderman Gardner to adopt Resolution 1959. All those in favor? Perfect. And again,
I move that we read resolution 1960 by title and description only.
yeah. Where do you have it moved to?
I have it second.
Yeah, as well do I.
So, okay. So
You want to hold off on that?
hold on.
All right. All right, moving into new bills. Let you have that
Your
one
Honor,
as
I
well.
move that we put Bill 3271 on its first reading by title and description only.
Motion was made by Alderman Flores, seconded by Alderman Campbell to place bill number 3271 on its first reading by title and description only. All those in favor?
An ordinance authorizing the city to enter into a development agreement with the Ozark Mill LLC and the Finley River Transportation Development District.
Mr. Mayor, staff is very excited to bring these next two ordinances before the board for your consideration. We have been working in conjunction with our partners for about 2 years now to get these ordinances prepared. Basically, what we find ourselves in as a growing community is that we have lots of needs, and a lot of times those are infrastructure needs. In this case, this would be transportation. When you continue to grow, you always need a transportation system to be able to support that growth. So sometimes the city finds itself in a situation where we know we have millions of dollars of things we need, but that doesn't mean we have the revenue to be able to accomplish that. In this particular case, we are utilizing a developer's agreement, a true public-private partnership to be able to move forward with some very important, very significant transportation improvements down by the Mill Pond Bridge. And that is something that, again, I think the community is going to be very pleased to see. It's something that the city of Ozark, much like the Riverside Inn Bridge, would not have been able to accomplish on its own. So to work with the Ozark Special Road District, to work with the county and our friends over at Finley Farms, we were able to put together a list of projects that this developers agreement is going to seek to accomplish. And by doing that, a transportation development district needed to be formed to generate the revenue for the bonds that we will be utilizing to have that revenue source to pay those back. Again, the city would not have been able to do this on its own, but now we're going to be able to bring forth through this developers agreement some really exciting, very needed improvements that not only will improve and save a historic icon like the Mill Pond Bridge, but also improve the transportation network in that area. So just wanted to kind of give that overview. Certainly if you have specific questions, our council can answer those for the ordinances. And we also have individuals that are on Zoom, the legal counsel for Finley Farms, that could also answer any questions you might have. So again, very excited to bring these forward, and we would ask that both of these be considered for expediting tonight as well, as time is of the essence. We lost some time during COVID, certainly put a lot of our projects behind, but we're catching back up again, and this is one of those that we want to continue to move forward as time is of the essence, not only with the bonding, but also with the governor's cost share. You may remember that we received back in the COVID, back in 2020, but that has been extended into 2021 so that we don't lose those funds. So anyway, if you got any questions for me, I'm here. Otherwise, Ms. Callaway can answer anything you have.
Okay. Any board comments? Any of them?
Comment, not a question.
Would you mind using your microphone, please?
Yeah.
After 6 years, you would think. There we go. Gotcha.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. I want to underscore what Mr. Childers said. We've been working on this for quite some time, and I know this is redundant and repetitious, but it's a really good project and we need to make this happen. And all the things have kind of fallen into place. We've gotten cooperation from all the right people, including the governor's cost share program. And it's a no-brainer. So I just wanted to voice my support.
Absolutely. Any additional comments? All right. Or anybody on the Zoom call like to comment? None? Anybody in the audience would like to comment on this bill? Yes, ma'am. If you just come forward, give your name, address to the clerk. Just, there we go. And you're
Jeannie McFall, 1324 East Warren Avenue. I just had a question about the 1% sales tax. If the vendors will be charged that at the farmer's market, if they'll have to charge that to the public, or if they would be exempt.
I don't know that I know the answer to that question. That is a special event that they hold inside that, the district, but I don't know. I've not asked that question. Somebody on the Zoom call might be able to answer that question.
Yes, this is Chris Klein with Hush Blackwell with offices at 4801 Main Street, Kansas City, Missouri. Here today on behalf of the developer of this project. So in regard to the question on the sales tax, it's my understanding that any taxable sales within the district, if they would be eligible or responsible for paying sales tax in general, they'd be responsible for paying this sales tax as well. So, to the extent that they're selling taxable goods there, that's subject to the regular city sales tax, they'd also be subject to our TDD sales tax.
If that's the case, then that brings up an interesting situation with vendors that sell at all the other events there, whether the craft fair, the duck race, whatever. I don't know that if it's charged there.
Well, the city park would not be inside the TDD district. No. It would only be the Finley Farms property.
Oh, that's right.
So her question was regarding the farmer's market.
That's right. Thank you. That's right. Good point.
Yes, sir.
This is kind of, I guess, adjacent question. And do we require them to pay sales tax now? Do we not do that through a peddler's license or something like that for these temporary events?
Some temporary events are regulated through the special events permitting, which is through the city departments, depending on which department's regulating that. But I'm not sure on this specific event related to the farmer's market.
It's on private properties.
Did that answer satisfy you at all? Do you have any additional comments that you would like to make?
I just think that they might look at exempting them because I'd love to have them in that location and permanently there, but they may have to look at relocating to another location in the future because of that.
Help me.
I'm telling you, the farmer's market might, as a group, look at another location if they're going to have to collect an extra 1% on all their sales.
Okay. Any additional board comments?
How can we find out and be able to give her an answer about the sales tax?
I'm pretty sure, Mr. Klein.
You think that's
pretty
definite?
Anything inside that district would
be
eligible or be required to collect the sales tax.
Okay.
And of course, that would just be the adding of the 1 cent when the payments are redeemed to the state, then the state would, take care of that. So it would only be for the merchant. I'm going to assume, based off my knowledge of being a business that was in a TDD, I collect my sales tax at the rate that I'm told based off the address and what I'm doing, my product. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to redeem that sales tax revenue to the state, and the state's going to make sure it gets where it needs to go, whether it be the county, the city, the TDD, the managing partner of the TDD. So.
Mm-hmm. That is the way it works. As a business, I do shows different places, and we always base we collect the sales tax that's required wherever we're doing our, wherever the show is, or the event is.
I just didn't think council had thought of that question.
Well, thank you for bringing that up.
Yes, absolutely. Any other comments, questions from the audience? Yes, ma'am?
Not really comments, just again, speaking in support of this project. As you all know, this was going on and evolving before the organization even existed, but I almost called you Mayor Gardner. That's gonna be a hard habit to break. Alderman Gardner's point, the governor's transportation cost share grant that was able to be layered in, that was only one of only 20 projects accepted across the state of Missouri. And so it was just a joint effort, and one thing that we do to try to be innovative and overcome some of the obstacles for infrastructure, since again, we don't have the LMI requirement, the low to moderate income requirement for a lot of the traditional programs. So it definitely, the 30 million plus in capital investment that is being invested into our community and the ripple effect that we're seeing because of that, this is just one of those dominoes, and we just wanted to officially go on record and speak in support of the project and the TDD.
Thank you. All right, last chance, anybody? Hearing none, Mr. Flores?
I move that we put Bill 3271 on its second reading by title and description. Second.
Motion was made by Alderman Flores, seconded by Alderman Garter. Pardon me. To place bill number 3271 on its second and final reading by title and description only. All those in favor?
An ordinance authorizing the city to enter into a development agreement with the Ozark Mill LLC and the Finley River Transportation Development District.
All right. Any additional comments from the board? Hearing none.
I move that we adopt Bill 3271 as ordinance 21-053.
It's contagious. Oh, my goodness. All right. The motion was made by Alderman Flores, seconded by Alderman Gardner, to adopt bill number 3271 as ordinance number 21-053. May I get a roll call vote, please?
RJ Flores.
Aye.
Bruce Galloway. Nathan Poston.
Aye.
Rick Gardner. Eddie Campbell.
Aye.
And Heather Alder. Motion passes.
Okay. Mr. Flores?
Move that we place Bill 3272 on its first reading by title and short description only. Second.
Motion was made by Alderman Flores, seconded by Alderman Campbell. Place bill number 3272 on its first reading by title and description only. All those in favor?
An ordinance authorizing the city to enter into a cooperation agreement with the Ozark Mill LLC and the Finley River Transportation Development District, issue a closing certificate, and directing the city attorney to issue a legal opinion.
Explanation, any? Mr. Childers, do you have anything?
I don't. If you have any questions, we certainly have to answer. We can walk through the funding mechanism that we discussed earlier.
All right. Any questions or comments from the board? Mr. Galloway.
It's a question directed to the city's council. Could you investigate possibly whether the impact of section 144.527 on the city's ability to collect sales tax for farmers markets? That's 144.527. I don't know that it has any impact at all. It just was an interesting statute to read.
Yes, the city attorney can do that.
All right, thank you.
All right. Any additional board comments regarding this bill? All right. Anybody on Zoom call? My Zoom monitor just left the room, but I don't see anything. Anybody in attendance tonight would like to speak with regards to this bill? Hearing none.
Move that we place Bill 3272 on its second reading by title and description only.
Second.
Motion was made by, Alderman Flores, seconded by Alderman Galloway. Place bill number 3272 on the second reading by title and description.
An ordinance authorizing the city to enter into a cooperation agreement with the Ozark Mill LLC and the Finley River Transportation Development District, issue a closing certificate, and directing the city attorney to issue a legal opinion.
Any additional comments from the board? Mr. Flores.
I move that we adopt Bill 3272 as ordinance 21-054. Second.
Motion was made by Alderman Flores, seconded by Alderman Campbell to adopt bill number 3272 as ordinance number 21-054. May I get a roll call vote, please?
Rick Gardner,
Absolutely, yes.
Nathan Poston,
Aye.
Heather Alder, Bruce Galloway,
Aye.
Eddie Campbell,
Aye.
and RJ Flores. Motion passes.
Move that we place Bill 3273 on its first reading by title and description only.
Second.
Motion was made by Alderman Flores, seconded by Alderman Poston. Place bill number 3273 on its first reading by title and description. All those in favor?
An ordinance amending the municipal code of the city of Ozark, Missouri, chapter 405, zoning regulations, to establish one new section regulating dark skies design standards.
Mr. Childers?
Mr. Mayor, certainly our planning development director is here. We've been working on this as well. You would let everybody know, I think I did this last time. Our representative from the Springfield Board of Realtors is here. We had met with the Springfield Board of Realtors during this process, and been able to talk to them, hear their concerns, and answer their questions with that, the planning and zoning commission, and make sure that we discussed with them the Springfield Board of Realtors concerns, and they modified the direction that they were going to intend some of the uses that they were concerned, mainly single family and family residential. Sent that ordinance on to the DOR, and so I think we're certainly you have the support of the staff. I know it's been recommended for approval by the planning and zoning commission, our representative from the Board of Realtors is here, and they have some comments. But I'm happy to answer any questions. Concerns our planning director is here.
Mr. Smith, do you have any additional?
Nothing in addition to that, other than I'd like to address some of the questions that came up at the last meeting. There was concerns about cost of the lighting.
There's concerns about the cost of the lighting, and I asked Alderman Flores to maybe help address some of those questions. So he's provided our plan and give some input. I do want to clarify the discussions about ball fields, how this relates to ball fields. It does affect the newly proposed ball fields. There's some exemptions and criteria set in the ordinance for how to handle those. Existing lighting, if they're maintenance, replacing bulbs, maintenance, or just a repair to those, they are exempt. However, if they're going to completely replace the fixture bulb in the lighting out on their property side of buildings, those would have to comply with the new standards. Single family, two family, I know that was a concern, and yes, clearly we do define it and exempt those from this requirement. However, in a subdivision, we do require like common areas, full houses, full structures, any of those areas, if they provide lighting, to comply with this ordinance. With that, we have to answer any additional questions.
Are there any additional questions, Mr. Campbell?
Just a couple of clarifications. The first one's only a typo on the fifth page where we have the descriptions of the different things, where it says light, up at the top of the page, it says lighted areas. Then go down to the second item. Over in the maximum illumination is a typo. It says, that's left out the S on the word shall. If you could find it.
Is it on the fifth page?
Would be on the fifth page.
Don't mind, where was that again?
Okay, the second item on the chart under lighted areas, up near the top.
Downtown neighborhood rural district?
Yeah, go over to the maximum illumination,
Okay.
and it just misspelled the word, basically. The second item is over on the seventh page. Item 4E, I'll call it. It says a strict curfew, and this is as it relates to outdoor recreational uses, ball fields and what have you. It says a strict curfew of 10 p.m. or 1 hour after end of play is observed. And my question is, would that be whichever is earlier or whichever is later?
Later.
Okay. Okay. That's all I had.
Okay. Mr. Poston.
Yes, thank you. I got turned on to this several years ago by Mr. Branch and Mr. Dillon on the P&Z Commission, and I had never heard of such a thing. And they talked about it nonstop. This has been a passion project of them. Mr. Flores has been involved in it for way back when he was on P&Z, I think, as well. And this is I think this is going to probably come across as a small thing, but I think this is going to be one of the most consequential bills that we're going to pass, because if we don't do this today, if we don't do it soon, it's going to be one of those things that you lose control of. You're going to get so many lights up in the air that anything you passed, but you could never claw it back. And I know this board likes to talk about economic development, and I've long thought, and I've talked to Ms. Seitz about this more than she probably wanted to talk about it, but I think one of the biggest economic drivers of this region is going to be the hundreds of thousands of acres between here and south of northwest Arkansas. It's some of the most beautiful land in the country, and it's sort of taken for granted. And as the rest of this state and this area, and this country for that matter, continues to build out, a desire to be somewhere where you can feel connected to nature is going to have a premium attached to it that is going to be unlike anything else. And to put something like this in place now, especially as where Ozark is the last stop before you drop off into the Ozark Mountains to the south of us, now is the time to do this. And I believe that this is one of those bills that you're not going to see immediate effect, but 10 to 20 years from now, you're going to be incredibly thankful that this is in place. I'm glad to see it. I'm glad we finally feel like it's getting close to the finish line. It's been years and years. I'm glad to see it getting there.
Yeah, we went through this. We went through this pretty carefully, and the main thing we were trying to address is making sure that we were accomplishing what we were trying to do without adding any extra cost, anybody trying to upgrade their lights or do any new building. And a couple things that we adjusted from to make it still dark sky compliant, but not add that cost, was by making sure that we, with a light color that was very typical. So 3000 K, what we're requiring in there is a very typical outdoor temperature of a light. If we go below that, then we're going to be starting to add costs because they aren't very typical. So someone's not going to be able to just buy a standard color temp that you see a lot of places. It's going to put them outside of that, which is always going to cost more. The other thing is what this going away from a dark sky certified fixture and going with something that still met the qualifications of it. It's not stamped with that, but it still gives us the same result. And by going through some lighting reps and making sure that those things were available, just to give you some reference, you can get them as cheap as $50 for an LED light that would meet all of our requirements. And it's a very standard fixture. You can find it a lot of places. You'll notice it like Lowe's now, they have dark sky qualified fixtures right here at our Lowe's in Ozark. There's a whole section of them put on your house, things like that. So This is very easily obtained, and the 5-foot candles at your parking lot is a very typical, that's what we're seeing most places. In fact, a lot of parking lots are going to fall to 2 or 3-foot candles. And so there's nothing really in here that's going to add extra cost to anybody trying to build anything. And there's nothing in here that's going to inhibit someone from keeping their parking lots lit like they are right now. The main thing is making sure that they pick a fixture that's conscious about the fact that we're not letting light shine up and we're just trying to put it down where we want it. And that's really all this really does. So I think it's very well written. I think Cameron went through a lot of stuff there. We really tried to make sure we made a good bill that was able to accomplish everything and not, drag a lot of people through the mud with it. And I think we accomplished that. So I'm very, very happy with it.
Perfect. Any additional board comments? There's only one person left on Zoom, I guess, but any comments? Anyone in the audience have any comments regarding this bill? Yes, ma'am. No need for the name and address. We have it from the last.
I'm here as an individual owning property in the city of Ozark, and I'm one of the people that have their mail stolen out of the mailbox over here with no street lights and no security. So I'm a little concerned about going too dark and not enough light in the city of Ozark. Some of the things in your ordinance, you might just want to think about the added cost. Nobody has really told me how much more a fixture is going to be compared to one fixture over another. What the site plan is going to cost to have drawn up for the permit. The other thing is the inspection. Will it have to be done after hours to make sure that the light doesn't bleed over on the neighboring property? The testing for the lighting, the equipment, what that's going to run, if somebody's going to have to be trained to be able to use the equipment, to be able to make sure it falls within the right number of lights. The other thing is, which was brought up numerous times, I'm sure over the last 3 years, is the light pollution that we're getting from Springfield. And we have no control over the lighting pollution. How much of this is going to make a difference? Springfield is in the process of redoing all of their street lights to a high LED light. So how is that going to affect the extra light pollution that we're going to be getting? Our street lights, you have no control over, is what I've heard in the planning and zoning meetings, because Liberty takes control of that. So if they won't come on board, how are we reducing that? The billboards are another light pollution for Ozark. Highway 65, we're on the corridor, people see us. So I understand we have businesses on 65, so people can actually see. But I've been in New Mexico where all the light is down and you don't see anyone. You don't even know that the city's there. And then the other question is, if there is a damaged fixture, wind, fire, accident, Mervyn's had one of their street lights ran over a few years ago. Will that one light in that one parking lot have to be upgraded and nothing else? Those are just some things. And then the other thing is the flag lighting. Is that something that needs to be included? I know it was added. That you can't have up light on a flag, it has to be down light type thing. And then the other thing is, what would it cost the city of Ozark to step up and meet these standards on all of their buildings?
Mr. Smith, would you like to address any of those questions? There was a lot of them. We might ask that you submit that list to us so that we can go back and find all those answers to supply to you before we bring this bill back for final passage at the next legislative session. But if you wouldn't mind at this time hitting some of those that you remember that she brought up.
Alderman Flores mentioned a little about the cost, and from what we're finding, it sounds like as long as we're not requiring a certified fixture, there's comparable dark sky compliant fixtures out there cost-wise. In regards to the submittal of the photometric type plan that we're looking for, I've came from the consulting world, and either lighting suppliers will do that for free, or you can hire an engineer, so that's really up to the applicant to make a determination how to address that cost. We cannot control that. But we will get that drawing and review with the plan department. As far as the testing on our inspections on site, the way we propose to handle this initially is to inspect it during the daylight like we normally would any commercial project. If it becomes an issue in the evening and complaints, we'll go through the code enforcement process to further evaluate those lights. But if they're installing a light that complies with permitted plans, as we look at on paper, then that's how we'll enforce those during day one. If it requires us to purchase equipment, yes, there will be a an additional cost if we're sending inspectors out in the evening time after hours. So that is one thing to keep in mind. Billboards are pretty much existing structures, so replacing a bulb, a fixture, and those are exempt from this. A parking lot, example she gave for like an existing business, if they're replacing a pole, one light, one structure out of the entire system, no, that's a maintenance thing. We're not going to make them bring everything up to compliance. However, if they remove them all, then yes, that would come up to compliance. Can't think of any other questions that she had. I'd be happy to answer those.
There was one I could address on that. And anytime you go into a parking lot and you want to provide particular fixtures, it doesn't really matter what fixtures there is. Either an engineer is doing it as part of a project, or the lighting rep will take care of that for you and issue that. Because one thing you always have to take into consideration is the foot candles. And so they'll give you a whole graph of the parking